Welcome, everyone, to the Winning Together podcast, the place to be, to find people to win with. This podcast is about recovery in any area of your life. We're very grateful for the sponsorship of Iron Recovery to make this happen. This is the coach, Shay, I Love Yellow Aslet, and today I'm very excited to have one of my favorite people on the planet rapping about winning, feeling good, and getting the universe to get your back. Aimiee, she loves yellow too. Clements Hadfield, how are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Super yellow.
I like it.
Yeah. Let's get to know who we're working with today. So we've got the coach and we've got a clinician. A motto that she's living by is listen and do. Aimiee has an awe-inspiring story about leaving a career in the design and construction industry to start classes at the community college, pivot in your life. By listening to her higher powers, which we'll talk about, I find that very interesting, and embodying acceptance and surrender, she started to notice miracles in her life. Aimiee roots her work in science, evidence-based practices, and spirit, intuition, as she lives and breathes resilience and shares her gifts with clients all over the world. So you work as a mental health ninja.
Yes.
Using an approach that is complete for you, embodying different aspects, not only that work for you, but have been shown to be relevant. What I love about you and why we're here today in part is you're speaking at one of our live events coming up. You're also insanely practical, and you really just want to focus on stuff that works in people's lives now.
Right. I'm not a big fan of being inefficient with time and energy.
Me neither. We don't have time. We got too many big things to be about. The discussion today revolved around higher powers. Okay. And our goal today is not to change your beliefs. All we're going to do is challenge some beliefs and create some space for ways to maybe see problems with fresh eyes to come up with fresh solutions. We want to speak to people that are close to us and that matter to us in a way that we come from the heart. One, what you're going to get from today is authenticity, keeping it real, solutions, evidence, and two people who live their truth with a capital T. And you'll feel that as we talk. How you feeling today? You nervous a little bit?
A little bit nervous.
Most excited?
Very excited.
Okay. As you are getting ready for doing the podcast and you're going to be presenting at an upcoming event, what's some things that are percolating in your really awesome brain?
I feel like some of the things that come up in my work a lot with the people that I work with are the concepts of spirituality and higher powers and truth and how we live in it and how we recognize it. And so I think those are the two big things for me because, one, I see them a lot in my work, but really it's that my life experience has informed a significant amount of how I view truth.
We'll reference any ordeals in your hero's journey that have brought that to life. I think also what I've found to be true is becoming aware of how the universe works around you. It's not about maybe defining what a higher power is or religion might be or anything like that. It's really allowing, we love the term synchronicity, miracles, things that conspire to help you get to where you want to go. Tell me about higher powers, plural. Let's just get right into it.
Okay, just jumping on in.
Yeah.
So higher powers, plural, kind of stems from the idea that we can take from traditions that resonate with us and that we don't necessarily have to be all in on any particular religious tradition or spiritual tradition. I tend to just refer to them as faith traditions because the reality is that nothing works unless it makes sense to us. So if a a traditional Christian God makes sense, then cool. If another kind of like something intangible like nature or gravity makes sense as a higher power, then cool. And the reality that I've witnessed is that it doesn't so much matter who I'm praying to, just that I have the faith in a power bigger than myself to help me with what I need help with. And so when I say higher powers with an S on the end, that's exactly what I mean, is that sometimes I ask ancestors for help. Sometimes I just ask whoever will show up for help. And sometimes I reach out like very directly to a family member who isn't in his body anymore. And every time, regardless of who I ask for help, I seem to get it.
One of the truths that you and I have found and put to the test and will continue to do so is that things are always working out for us and they're happening exactly as they're supposed to happen. One truth about the universe is it will give you what you ask for.
Right.
And if you let go of what that needs to look like and let it be, it can come out in all these magical ways that if you create awareness around, they're always there. You may not be aware and you may not believe it. You don't even need to. Challenging that belief, however, creates some magic that even if you don't change your beliefs, you'll see them with fresh eyes and create some solutions around the problems. I've found that if you think about Newton's law of the universe, to every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Then if you feel like a connection to somebody who may be embodied or not, it becomes real to you and the perception matters because then it changes your reality.
Right.
And one vital thing for me with what you're talking about is the honoring the spiritual you. If you don't honor that part of you that anyone can know is real, the dishonor takes a ton of energy away from being connected to your life.
Right, and I agree. And I think the word that keeps coming up for me as we're talking about this is distraction. I think that humans have a tendency to be distracted, and in the world we live in, like, we're constantly chasing the next whatever it is, and a lot of us struggle to stay present. But the thing is that expectations, like you mentioned, have this property of being distractions. And so if I am looking for like a purple baby dragon to be my sign from the universe that I'm going to be okay, I can walk right past like dollars dropping from the sky and people showing me love and all kinds of things, because all I'm focused on is what I think the reward should look like. And I'm not seeing any of the rewards or any of the blessings that are in front of me because I'm distracted by what I think rather than what my higher powers want to give me or show me or tell me.
Tell me how the universe loved you enough to teach you this lesson. Where does the axiom, your personal axiom of listen and do, where is the genesis of that?
Okay, so that's, I don't think I've told very many humans this, so I'm just going to lay it out there on a podcast, because why not? Because you asked, and I'm going to listen and do.
I love the glow that you're emanating, by the way. It's bright.
Well, it's interesting because there are aspects of my story that there's been some shame around, and kind of addressing that has been part of my own work that I do for myself and my own emotional health. And so what happened was...
Real quick, can I tell you, I'm so grateful that you're making it not about you. That somebody listening needs to hear this in a way that only you can tell it. Thank you.
I think that's a big piece of storytelling and sharing our stories, is that we can take our experiences that were hard or shame-based and use them to help other people. Because regardless of the details of this story, someone will connect with some piece of the story. So I was in a position in my life where I was on the verge of losing a lot. And
catastrophic losses.
Yeah, like house, car, custody battle. Very expensive custody battle that I was on the verge of losing literally everything. And I did not know how I was going to survive or if I wanted to survive.
Legit.
For real. Like, if I had told anybody, they would have needed to report. And so I was basically like trying to clean up my life so that whoever had to come pick up the pieces would have an easier job. And I used the term I was told, you're packing to move into your home. And I thought that was a really interesting...
So what's going on is you're on the verge of losing everything, and so you're packing to move out of your house again for feels like the 100th time. You're moving again, and as you're packing to leave, that's what comes to you.
Right, because this was a home that I owned after moving every year as a kid and having no stability. So I placed a high value on stability and my ability to provide that stability. So I hear... you're packing to move into your home. It made very little sense because I was literally losing my home. And then just a little while later, my phone rang, and it was a long-term friend that I had worked with for years. And he asked how I was doing, and I gave him kind of the usual, everything's good, great, man.
You use the F word.
Yeah,
fine. I'm fine.
Yeah. So I, and then he asked, like, if I really was. And no, I was not fine. But that's kind of an interesting side note is because for whatever reason, he had to listen to some kind of intuition in order to make that phone call in that moment, that day, rather than waiting. And so that's just an interesting piece of that we can't do this alone. Other people have to listen and do too. So what he said to me is he said that he had a line on a job that was a good job in the field that I was working in, and that my name had been coming up about the job, and everybody thought I was happy and fine, and so nobody wanted to call me about the job. So I reached out about the job, got an offer letter for the job, and the bank that held my mortgage refinanced with an offer letter, which is not a thing. No pay stubs, just an offer letter. And so I was able to keep my home.
Yeah, and if this was 2003 and forward, it makes sense. But this is post-2010, so credit's not as easy. And to have that come up, you're a smart girl. You probably knew that was not going to be a possibility, and here it is.
Right. It was absolutely impossible. And you're right. This is post the 2008 recession. Mm-hmm. So everything's tight. Everything's buttoned up. There's no crazy lending rules.
2 years job history. You got to show it.
Yeah. And so, so I was able to save my house, keep a roof over mine and my daughter's head, not have to go rely on other people. And so that was when I kind of was like, oh,
huge.
I hear this voice. I do the impossible. Because, of course, like, after I got the offer letter, I was like, I wonder what would happen if I just contacted the bank. And I'm sure that didn't come from me, but that thought to even try was impossible. And I very easily could have just been like, no. I thought I was super smart and in charge of things. I am super smart, but I'm not in charge of anything.
Something I've noticed, and I'm going to notice you, is that a pattern I've observed of people who pull through their adversity is they know there's something inside that they have to protect. There's this slice or this part, and it may even feel like it's just a particle of who they are they're protecting. And as long as you protect that voice or that inspiration or that universe, it can get to you. And then if it can just get to you and you have this miracle, it allows you to ask, why can't I ask another one or allow another synchronicity? So I want to just honor you for protecting that part, because it's turned now into this generous garden and fruitful life that your gifts now give, because you protected them at some point through the adversity.
Thank you. Thank you for seeing me.
Capital SEE. And then what happened?
And then kept the house. Things worked out fairly well and just kind of kept afloat for a while. And then work was stress, lots of stress on the home front with my family of creation, which is my child, and difficulties with just the custody arrangement was a little bit tricky at that time. I'll leave it at that.
So the areas that are most important in your life, we're all experiencing adversity.
Yes.
So family, relationship, motherhood, parenting, body, job, providing, stability. Okay.
Yeah, everything just felt really like up in the air, and I didn't know how anything was going to happen. And then I met this guy, and he was really great. And then that was a tricky situation too, with figuring out how to navigate what we wanted our life together to look like. And that was another kind of just, okay, we got to listen and do.
So tell me about the listen and do, because I can feel there's a good one here.
Well, first of all, we met online, and I tried to get rid of him because I didn't want to say yes to him. So I exited out of the app, and then when I reopened it, he was still there. And then so I was like, well, what if I sign out of the app? So I signed out of the app, and I signed back in, and there he was. And then I thought, what if I uninstall the app?
Of course. Smart girl.
Yeah, uninstalled the app, reinstalled it, signed back in. There he is.
Thwarted.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, I'll say yes to him because there's no way he's going to say yes to me. And it was like, it's a match. And he messaged me right away. And it was very difficult to hold boundaries with him because my rule was I don't want to text back and forth constantly. And he was just so interesting that it was really hard for me to be like, hey, but no more talking. I'll see you Tuesday.
What part of your life did you clean up to make space for that relationship, that connection to happen?
I think that we had to both be in a place where we were open. And I think I had to know really what I wanted. So I had made this list of qualities that I wanted in a partner and in a partnership.
First time? Making a list?
The list had been kind of years in the making. It was pretty long.
Written down?
Yeah, written down, concrete, on index cards.
Love it.
So, and the reason I wrote it on index cards was so that it would be editable.
Totally.
Yeah, that way I can, if I change my mind about a quality or something, I can get rid of it, or I can add to the pile. And I just kept adding to the pile and didn't really get rid of a lot.
Yeah.
But it turned out that this man was everything on the list.
Hoorah.
Literally everything.
Okay. Which was an impossible thing, which spoke to your listen and do.
Yeah, totally impossible that there was a human being on this planet.
Great protection strategy, by the way, of keeping your life defined.
Yeah, safe.
Predictable. Super boring.
Yeah.
Unfulfilling.
Yeah, but safe, familiar. And I knew exactly what to expect from loneliness and sadness. Safe.
Simon and Garfunkel, here we go.
I am a rock.
Hell Hello, darkness.
It is true. Mm-hmm. I love that we can Simon and Garfunkel together.
Boom.
So, how the story ends is that I married him.
Way more rapidly than you thought possible?
Yeah, we thought we'd have to wait because of various circumstances. We thought we would, we thought the timeline would be longer than it was. But what we realized was that that waiting was going to delay whatever it was we were supposed to do together. And by we realized, what I mean is I was trying to explain this concept to him that we just needed to listen and do, and he was trying to overthink everything. And then we were standing in my kitchen, and the dining room light kind of like did something weird, like a power surge. And then he was like, "Oh, just kidding, I'm in." And so we often wonder like who that was that gave the really clear sign, because I would like to thank them, because now he just like hitches to the Aimiee train and here we go.
I'll tell you, I actually know who it is. It's whoever's listening to this right now and their prayers they put into the future to have you become who you are, to share what you're sharing today. It's how we win together. It really is. And for you to allow that possibility that if I listen and do and let go of even the good stuff, but what is keeping you from feeling joy and connection, and allow for something different, unpredictable, surprising. That's the key. You started allowing surprises to happen.
Exactly.
And not all good, by the way. I'm not saying that they're all birthday cake and piñatas and candy falling through. In fact, the surprises that came your way were hard, double down hard. Are you kidding me? What? There's no way.
Yeah. And that's really and mixed in with the really kind of magical surprises.
Absolutely. Well said.
And so it kind of is just like here's this great thing, and then here's this hard thing, but the knowledge that there was more great coming. And sometimes the answer to when is it going to get better was not today.
Why does that make you smile?
Because it's so real for me that sometimes the answer is not today, and that when that's the answer, often, not always, but often, I've found the reason why my idea, my timeline, wasn't the right timeline. So that's why I kind of laugh about it, because it really is. Sometimes the answer is just not today.
I found as well, if I allow not today to be, sometimes I feel defeated. But allowing and acknowledging that allows you to look back and connect the dots.
Exactly.
And see, I see. Speak to the inspiration sometimes is to get you to the next step and not always to the end.
Okay, yeah. So that's a big thing that I teach, and that I really focus on in my work and in my life, is this tendency that we have, because we're humans and we want to be safe. So we want to know what to expect. So we have this tendency to attach ourselves to outcomes. So the problem with attaching ourselves to outcomes is that we can get so focused on what we're looking for that we don't see the other opportunities along the way. So an example is like if I get told to walk to a tree that's a half mile away and I can see the tree, and so I say, okay, go into the tree, because that's what I do, listen and do. So I go walk toward the tree, and then I see that there's a path that turns off to the right, and I feel inspired to take that path, then I have a choice. Do I stay attached to the outcome of the tree, or do I turn right on this other path with the understanding that I had to go toward the tree in order to find the turnoff that I really needed?
Tell me what that feels like so somebody listening can start identifying that, listen and do, oh, now you need to turn right, and not get stuck on, I've got to get to the tree or the outcome.
Yeah. I think in our bodies, it can feel different. So one trick may be to identify what the truth feels like in our bodies. So how I do that, and you watched me do this before, is that I just stand with no shoes on. And
Grounding.
Just ground and just stand. And it doesn't work as well to sit for me. It may for other people, but I stand in it, and sometimes I'll take one step. And one of my teachers and mentors explained that as take a step into your truth. And so then I can say it. And what I've noticed is if I say it out loud and it comes freely, then it is the truth. And I can notice how that feels in my body. And I can, then if I say something that's not the truth, I describe it as I kind of choke on it. It doesn't come out easily, and it doesn't feel uplifting in my body. So if I say a truth, I drive a gray car. And then if I try to lie, like I live in the suburbs, it doesn't come out in the same way. And it doesn't feel the same way. Like I live in the suburbs, for me, kind of is like, but I drive a gray car is really easy. And for some people, the suburbs is their truth. For me, it's a lie because I live in the city. So it's not something against the suburbs. It's just not true.
For listen and do to be powerful in your life, acknowledging and allowing the wisdom of your body to guide you.
Yes.
Is essential.
Because our bodies know.
They know.
They know what's true. They know what direction to go. Our bodies just know because our bodies are part of a bigger system. Mm-hmm. So our bodies can already sense. They already know the answer. We already know the answer. And when we're in our bodies and connected to ourselves, then we can just know the answer and just take the step, and it just works. And when we're not connected with our bodies, then we struggle with it. And it's the same with saying the truth. Our vocal cords have to speak it. Our mouths have to speak it. Like our brain has to send a signal to lie. And so that's what, when I talk about standing in our truth, that's what I mean. We just tell our truth. And the truth just kind of comes to us. So there's Bessel van der Kolk wrote a book called The Body Keeps the Score. That's really popular in the mental health space. And it talks about how trauma lives in our bodies.
Right? Harvard professor, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it talks about how trauma lives in our bodies. And trauma is not the only thing that resides in our cells.
What else does?
Knowledge and reality. And
the wisdom of generations.
Yes.
Of not just human, but your humans, your family DNA.
Yeah. And that's a whole thing. Epigenetics is like a whole another thing that I won't pretend that I know a lot about, but it's real.
It's real.
That the cells in our bodies change, and that stuff is passed down through generations, so that not just behaviorally, but on a cellular level, we are carrying the pain and the joy and the magic of our ancestors.
And the gifts and talents. Your body will also help you get in tune that things that feel, a way to think about, anybody listening, one way to tie into what Aimee's talking about is think expansive. Feelings that feel expansive are leading or pulling or guiding you to the truth. Things that feel contractive or restrictive are things that they may be true, but they're not true for you, or they're not the right action or step or direction for you at this time.
Right. And maybe it's just not today. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's other stuff we have to do before we can do the thing.
And since the body knows and the universe knows, how did Aimiee let go of having to be, because you had to be in charge for a period of your time when you were vulnerable and it was not safe, and you had to be very protective of your space and controlling of it to keep the chaos from, damage control in. So that was serving you and keeping you alive and healthy and able to move forward and survive. And then it became maladaptive.
Right.
At some point it became maladaptive. And how did you get present to, now this is not serving me, I'm allowing or choosing or being different?
I can tell you the exact moment it happened. And it was, we had been remodeling my kitchen, and my brother John had been doing most of the work. But when we demoed it, we kind of put the kitchen on the side of the house. And it was December. And this is another case of someone listening to their intuition to reach out to me. So I have a very, very dear friend who is a general contractor, and he called me one night. It was about 8:30, middle of December, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm driving home from Park City." He said, "Me too. I have my trailer on my truck, my dump trailer. Do you need help getting rid of your kitchen?" And I said, "You know what? I do." So he came over and he backed his trailer up onto my lawn, and he and I loaded my kitchen into his dump trailer. And I'm in a dress, and there was a piece of countertop or something that I kind of had to lean up against the side of the trailer and then push up into the trailer, and he came and helped me. And I looked right at him and I said, "I can do that." And he looked at me and said, "You shouldn't have to." And that moment opened me up to the idea that maybe I shouldn't have to. Maybe I could come to understand that I could ask my friends, my community, my people for help. And so in that moment, that statement, "You shouldn't have to," probably changed my life not probably, it did. That statement changed my life forever.
And once you see the truth, you can never go back to the lie.
No. And that was about 2 weeks before I met Jeff, my husband. And had I not had that experience, I don't think I would have been able to surrender and do all of the things that I did as far as going back to school and all of that. Because I had to be open to the idea that maybe I didn't have to do everything. Maybe I didn't have to be in control of everything. And my friend's statement that night to me, that's what changed that.
We win together.
Yeah. And I am forever grateful for him for listening to whatever told him it was a good idea to call me and ask me if I needed him to come over late at night, 15 degrees, and help me load a bunch of trash into his trailer.
When we allow doing our hard to be bigger than ourselves, and whether that's higher powers mountain or an animal or an idea. It doesn't matter. If you allow it to become bigger than you and you do your hard, you've now been able to do that for maybe hundreds of people.
Which is pretty incredible to think about.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's one thing to kind of point out. It's about not just following our inspiration and sharing our stories, but about, unless he listens to this podcast, he will never know.
Yep.
I have never told him, and I maybe should.
And odds are he probably doesn't even remember.
He probably doesn't. But he would have had no idea that statement would change my life and therefore the lives of everybody I've worked with, their families, my family, so many people, because he said that to me, and that opened up my eyes so that other things could come in.
When you speak, you talk about at the live event, you'll speak about kind of going back to school, reinventing your career, reinventing yourself as a person. Tell me a little bit about the treasure that is alive in your life now because of listening and doing in those times when it felt it was impossible.
Now, like, if somebody asks me how I'm doing and I say I'm fine, I mean it. And I'm more than fine. That's my reality. And I have had tragedy in between going back to school and today, like incredible tragedy and incredible sadness, but I've also had incredible magic. And I get to work a few hours a week. I run groups sometimes and have a couple of individual clients with I Am Recovery, and that is a joy. And I also do clinical work and run a family program for a residential treatment center in Eden, Utah. And that is also a joy. And I own a business in downtown Salt Lake called Heart and House that provides flexible office space for well-being practitioners. And the coolest thing about that right now is the amount that we get to give. Because we have this space, we get to share it with people who need space. So we have been the winter home for a nonprofit that does a hip-hop fitness class on Thursday nights. And we have been able to provide a home for a small craft fair, like a maker's market, and to read the messages about people being able to afford their meds or pay their rent because of us having the ability to share that space makes everything worth it. Because I don't have anything that I'm not eager to share. The only reason I have anything at all is because I'm willing to share everything I have, whether that's knowledge, whether that's space, whether that's stuffed dinosaurs. We win together.
A truth you and I have found independently of each other, but resonates totally with us, is it's not any harder to play small in your life than it is to play big. And it's not any more challenging or difficult to be powerful in your life than be not powerful.
It may actually be easier to be powerful. It takes a lot of energy to sit and tell myself a story that everything sucks.
Tell me more.
It does. It can be exhausting to spend time thinking small and playing small and this notion that's what life is, and that life will never be anything more than the cycle we've been repeating is silly. And it takes a lot of effort to tell the story that life is hard. I'm never going to go anywhere. I'm never going to amount to anything. It takes a lot of energy, and maybe more energy than, I'm going to go just do this rad thing because I do rad things.
The feeling, the electric energy that you exude, because you know that the rad thing's not conditional on your efforts. It is the thing, and you're going there. It's your body. It's the wisdom. It's the world around you that conspires for that to become. And the more you put attention on the outcome you want and the possibility, guess what? More possibility happens.
Yeah. And I think really the big point of it might be like, to understand that power that's within all of us, that we all have the power to own our stories and to own our power and to own our gifts. And even if our gifts even if our gifts seem counter to what we think we believe, if we give them a chance, and we don't, it doesn't even require any effort other than saying like, yeah, I have this gift, and then it grows, and then it gets shared, and then when you can't deny it, then it's just true, it's just real, it's just who you are.
The world around you too also knows how rigid or pliable you are, or how brave or scared you're feeling. So the listen and do's will always be in order of magnitude of what you're ready to do. So like you say, you just need to speak it and allow it to be. And maybe the listen and do will be go to that hip hop class. And if that's too big of an ask, then the listen and do will probably come up like, listen to your favorite hip hop song.
Right.
And if you allow that song to happen, that's like going to the tree like you talked earlier. If you allow it just to listen to the song, then the listen to do can be the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And it will take you there, and your gifts will make room for you. One of the areas that you've done powerful work in for yourself is a lot of the control that comes up, and when a controlling attitude becomes crippling instead of protective, is its shame. It's rooted in shame. And the more you've done work on your shame, the more I see you're allowing for the outcome to not be yours and the outcome to be the outcome, and you just be present to your listen and do inspiration and let it work itself out. As you clear up the shame, you're letting go of the outcome, but you're becoming more powerful and more valuable and more connected and electric and alive, all the things you really want.
Yeah, but I will still say that it's not me.
Totally.
People that come to the Heart House always are like, you did such a great job. I literally didn't do much. I saw it in my head. I made a business PowerPoint thing about it, and then I knew where it was supposed to be. Somebody else was there, so I just put it on the back burner, and then one day it happened. Like, I didn't do it. As far as the labor of making it happen and the physical energy of making it happen, really Jeff did most of that.
Hat tip, Jeff.
Yeah. But he and I really just did what we were told. And so people will say this is really cool what you've made. And it's hard for me to be like, oh, thank you. Because I don't feel like it was me. I don't feel like the work I do is me. I feel like I have made myself a vessel. I have made myself open enough to be able to follow someone and hold their hand while they heal themselves.
So speak to that person listening who wants to become a vessel but doesn't feel like it's possible, or that spirituality or that God is real or spirituality is real, or how does somebody allow that good feeling you're so powerfully sharing, how do they become a vessel? Because I know somebody here can feel how powerful that is in your life and how good that feels, and I know they want it.
You have to just pay attention to the things that you see, especially when you find yourself seeing things that someone else might call a miracle or someone else might call magic, but you don't feel like you can because those things don't happen in your life. Realize that they just did. That thing that happened to you that almost felt like a miracle was in fact a miracle. And that the good that happens in your life is not coincidence. That you are making it happen, and that the magic that's flowing through you is just a little tiny part of the magic that can flow through you. And the more you are able to recognize it, and the more you are able to act on it for what it is, the more you will be able to access it, the more you will be given. And so the little things where you think something will work out and want something to work out, and then it does work out, and you think, that almost seems like a miracle. It just is. And to accept that into your life and to just say yes to it. And eventually, like, it gets to the point where they're happening every day, and you have this choice where you can kind of put them in your back pocket, or you can hold them in your hands and look at them and love them. And by doing that, they're like little magnets. You just get more and more of them. And it's a matter of seeing them for what they are. And it doesn't matter what you call them. You can call them blessings, miracles, magic, voodoo, whatever. Like, I've heard them called all kinds of things. But gifts feels really good for me to call them.
And when you say see, you mean with your whole body. So it's not just in your head, and more importantly, it's not in your head. You've got to see the logic. We're not discounting that, but see with your body, and it will have a little sparkle that confirms that that's a miracle. And since you don't have to earn it, you're always worthy of it. So don't discount it because you feel like it has to be validated or earned. It's not. You just are. It just is. Allow it.
Yeah. Regardless of our behaviors, regardless of our past, regardless of important. Our beliefs, our future, whatever, you are worthy of it. And it's there waiting for you to just open your hand and feel what it feels like and see what it looks like and experience it and own it and make it part of you.
What part of listen and do in that theme do you want to bring us home with? Is there any part of how this has been so axiomatic for your life that you'd like to wrap us up or bring us home on? Listen and do. Listen and do.
Yeah, just listen and do. And people ask a lot, like, well, how do I know if it's my anxiety or if it's intuition, or how do I know if it's inspiration or if I'm just making it up? My answer is it going to hurt anybody? Like, if I have the inkling to tell a stranger in a parking lot that I like their pants, who cares? right? Like, was it inspiration or do I just like their pants? It doesn't matter. One interesting piece about that is that that's a real story. And then a few months after I complimented someone's pants in the parking lot, they walked up to me. I had no recollection of having complimented their pants, but they walked up to me and she said, "You complimented my pants."
Months ago.
And I saw you and I recognized you, and I wanted to just thank you for that because I was having a rough day, and that made a difference in my day. So we don't know. We don't know where the do will lead us, or if it'll lead us anywhere, or if it is just making somebody's day better.
What we do know, and you can know, is that acting on those listens keeps you even with feeling good. When you put yourself down and make somebody else more important by not complimenting them, you're putting yourself down, and then you don't get the integrity with yourself. So the listen, the reason it matters is it matters to you, your person inside. You value your person by complimenting somebody else. You give, and that's how you get the get. You give, and you will get the confidence, self-worth, connection, inspiration, magic, and that's what generates the energy. That's what creates the momentum.
Right. And it may not be something that you recognize immediately or ever. The how your energy spread through the world. But I think that's what I really would like to bring it home with is the way that it's the tiny things. Like the big stories are cool, but it's the little tiny things that make the bigger difference. So the little small, even how the little things affect my story. The friend who had the dump trailer, right? Like if he hadn't listened, my whole story would be different. Our whole story would be different. His story might not be different, but mine would have been very different, and yours would have been very different, because none of us would be in the moment that we're in now.
Which is perfect. It always is.
Everything works out exactly how it's supposed to.
The world is exactly as it's supposed to be. Your world is exactly as it's supposed to be. Things are always working out for you. Abundance is yours or not. Option to not be abundant. Option to shut down. An option to stay the same. An option to allow and challenge a belief around spirituality or energy or magic or connection or abundance, and allow the feeling you're generating. The words are wonderful, but the feeling I think you're generating is really what I want anybody listening to connect with. Yellow, bright, lightning, magnetic, electric, kind, loving, grace, appreciation, acknowledgement, possibility, expansion, connection. That would be what you're looking for. Okay? You and I, guess what we do? We win.
Together.
We win together. Your hard's not harder than my hard. We're still doing our hard every day, and that's where the magic, that's where the joy lives. Thank you for protecting that part of you that you knew you had to, that you would not die without putting into it, making it sparkle, sharing it, giving it, whatever it is you needed to do. And anyone listening, you know what I'm talking about. Protect that part of you. Find a way to connect with the people that matter in your life. Listen to Aimiee again and get some inspiration. And I promise you, if you listen to this again or even through anything that's a listen and do for you, go do it and let Aimiee know. Let Iron Recovery know. Let a friend know.
I would love to.
Yeah. Let somebody know.
Because, again, it's back to the story, full circle. You share the story of how any of this touched you or worked for you or anything that you were related to, and other people's lives will change because they'll get whatever message they're meant to get from you sharing with them.
Thank you, Aimee. Wonderful, beautiful. This is Shay. I'm so yellow, Aslet, the coach with the clinician, Aimee. Oh, I'm so yellow too, Clements Hadfield. Thank you to Iron Recovery for sponsoring this podcast. You can find Aimee's presentation live at the Iron Recovery offices or online YouTube at Arena Talks. So imrtc.com, 801-407-9998, arenatalks.com, Arena Talks on YouTube. We together love you, all of you, all the way, no matter what. No judgment. Go have fun, listen,